It's Sunday morning on CBS. Here again is Jane Pauley.
Behold a classic Shelby GT 350, designed by the late Carol Shelby. His skills are front and center in a new movie, Ford versus Ferrari, starring Matt Damon and Christian Bale as fast friends. Very fast friends. Here's Tracy Smith.
The 1960 Galaxy.
In the early 1960s, Ford offered just about everything you could want in a car, except maybe excitement.
A new size car with a new size price. The Ford Falcon.
Back then, there was nothing very sexy about owning a Ford. So, in a bid to attract younger customers, Ford tried to buy a company that was nothing but sexy. Ferrari. Then, as now, Ferrari made some of the fastest and prettiest cars on the planet. And in 1963, the Ford Motor Company was ready to write a check for all of the Italian car maker. But in the end, Enzo Ferrari said something in Italian that took a lot of syllables, but was ultimately translated as no. Henry Ford II, CEO of Ford, was said to be humiliated. So humiliated, in fact, that he decided to build a supercar, one that could beat Ferrari at a race they dominated for years, the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
This is the fantastic Ford GT.
Ford spent untold millions on the efforts and failed in 1964 and 65.
Victorieuse Ferrari.
So they decided to give it one final shot in 1966. It was Ford versus Ferrari. And now it's a movie. Christian Bale is at the wheel as legendary driver Ken Miles. And Matt Damon plays the automotive artist who was hired to defeat Ferrari, Carol Shelby.
You ready? I was born ready, Mr. Shelby. Hit it.
I know you're not a car guy. Has this made you appreciate these things a little more?
Well, these ones we're about to look at are just so beautiful.
We met the two stars at LA's Peterson Museum, surrounded by cars that might cost more than your house.
How much are you like Carol Shelby?
I don't think I'm like him at all. He was this bigger-than-life guy who, even if he beat the hell out of you in a business deal, you somehow still loved him. And I'm not like that. I'm very different from that.
My name's Carol Shelby, and performance is my business.
Shelby's best known for the cars that bear his name, like the Shelby Cobra. Carol Shelby died in 2012, but his name still looms large in the automotive world and on the side of Shelby International near Los Angeles.
How much was riding on this race for your grandfather?
It was big. You know, this was really important.
Aaron Shelby says that for his granddad, the 1966 Le Mans race meant everything.
He had a lot of pressure on him. 66 was it, or they're done.
And when you say they're done, what do you mean? What would have happened, do you think, if he lost?
I think Ford would have stopped funding the program. Also, at the time, they were still helping to fund Shelby here in Los Angeles and building the Mustangs and the remaining Cobras as well. And I think a lot of that could have come to a screeching halt had they not been successful in 66.
So Shelby might have been gone.
Correct.
Wow.
In Carol Shelby's mind, the right car was nothing without the right driver.
Coming up is Ken Miles, one of the best sport car drivers in America.
And the rightest driver he knew was Brit Ken Miles, who not only drove the cars, but helped build them into what became finely tuned weapons of speed.
Now.
It's the driver. There's drivers and there's drivers.
So it comes down to not just the car,
Oh, no.
but how you drive
Absolutely,
that car.
yeah. Ken was very easy on the car. Very easy on the car.
Charlie Agapiou was Ken Miles' crew chief.
What was Ken Miles like?
To me, he was a very, very likable fellow. If you got in any kind of trouble with what you were doing, he'd show you how to handle it and take care of it. He was a great guy. I mean, I loved him.
What'd you love about him?
He was just so friendly and so passionate about everything he did. It was just great to be around.
What was the dynamic between Carol and Ken like?
Unlike the movie, it seemed to me like they were great friends. I'd never really seen them into an argument or anything like that.
There were no fistfights?
I'd never seen any fistfights, no.
And the actors, who'd never worked together before, seemed to have captured that chemistry.
I know your paths crossed over the years, but what'd you think about each other?
Oh, man.
That's a dangerous question.
No, I tell you what I think. Matt and I have actually been very sort of, crossing paths very closely. You had the same agent for decades. I know you think I'm making this up. I am very grateful to Matt because I wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for roles he passed on. There were many roles where I was told, oh, well, Matt doesn't want to do it, so they went, all right, what about Bale?
Kidding aside, Damon actually did turn down the part of Dickie Eklund in The Fighter, a role for which Christian Bale took home an Academy Award.
What?
Both guys have had plenty of Oscar attention over the years, with Bale snagging a nomination this past January for his incredible, eerily close embodiment of Vice President Dick Cheney.
Foreign policy.
And when he was done playing the heavyweight American VP,
nothing in there about my trunk and your lovely little...
Christian Bale, who's actually British and skinny, had to become British and skinny again.
You can stick this bloody sticker where the sun... Hey, Bill.
Did you learn from each other in this process?
I had a great time watching him. He's got an incredible monk-like discipline. He went from Dick Cheney to this guy, so he had to lose 70 pounds.
70 pounds.
I had to get in the car.
Does it get harder to do that physical transformation?
Yes.
Yeah?
I keep saying I'm done with it.
Are you
I
done
really
with it?
think I'm done with it, yeah.
Yeah, now?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, gotta be.
You know when you're on set and he's like, oh, hold on, it's my cardiologist. I have to take this. Yeah, you better take that call.
Talk about heart-stopping. In the film, you actually get the sense that you're in the car with him, thanks to some pretty creative camera work. You also get the sense of just how dangerous auto racing can be when drivers push themselves and their cars to that place where there can only be victory or disaster. We won't spoil the ending for you, but to paraphrase Ernest Hemingway, all true stories end in death. And Ford versus Ferrari is based on a true story.
If a movie works, you end up feeling a lot of gratitude for all the people who worked on it, because it's hard work.
Much like putting a race car together and winning Le Mans, right?
Yeah, it's so
Exactly.
similar.
Except we're not risking our lives.
Good point.
Yeah.
We're lighter, we're faster, and that don't work, we're nastier.
What is it about this film that you want people to see?
Well, it's a beautiful story, and hopefully it's a chance for everybody to kind of come together in a dark movie theater and see a story about friendship. That's a nice thing to put out into the world right now.
You could say Ford versus Ferrari isn't really about a car race. It's about ingenuity, teamwork, and perseverance. Things that everyone can root for.
Next, portraits of courage.
Anyone willing to lay down their life for our country, that's what truly makes a person most American.
This is a story about
doing more
with less.
Doers need energy, and demand for it is expected to grow.
So Chevron's finding more homegrown energy more precisely.